All right, well, welcome to another episode of Derailed. Today, I'd like to start. I am Ash.
Clint.
Fable.
Ashley.
And we're all a bunch of roommates. And we're going to attempt to stay on topic and inevitably fail.
Delightfully fail.
Yeah.
Oh, that railroad rag. Oh, that railroad rag. It's so entrancing, it makes you fall asleep in Fargo and you wake up in Chicago. Hear that engine hum? That train's sure going some. Here comes that choo, 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 choo. That's the railroad rag.
So today's topic, we're going to be talking about robots, AI, this game Detroit. And
So we gotta fit that one in, huh?
and Westworld and just all this AI media that we're getting bombarded with recently.
Robots. How fuckable are they?
So I know that Clint and Ashley have been the two of our group who have really been keeping up more with the Detroit stuff. So
Yes.
would you guys like to start our discussion with that?
Alright, because I think I'm the most obsessed because I've been watching multiple playthroughs, even though, I hate the concept of the game overall. But Detroit is set in the future, about 20 years from now.
Only 20?
Yeah, it's 2038. And at this point, humanity has created androids that look human, that everybody's losing their jobs, and robot racism, and it's done very poorly.
But real racism is over.
Yeah, real racism doesn't exist anymore. It's just robots now. And
Because it's that easy. Obviously, to solve the racism problem in America, we just need to create robots so we can be racist toward them instead.
yeah, that's where this all falls apart. And the
only place it falls apart?
Well, no, it falls apart in many places. Actually, the only redeeming factor of this game are some of the characters, but that's because the actors improv'd, and so they're really charming and you love them immediately. But the writing is just awful. Every trope, cliche, it's like taking all of the android robot movies of the last 20 years
Ever.
and ever, and doing it all badly.
It's like David Cage just looked up the spark notes for every robot and
Yes.
detective movie and said, that's my script.
Yeah, that's it's terrible.
It also... there's the train!
There's the train. Okay, so, more of a challenge. What do you like about Detroit?
Truthfully, Connor and Hank, which I mean, because even though it's the traditional or cliche of old cop doesn't need a partner, but he gets a robot partner, and the new partner is a rookie and he doesn't know what he's doing, and they butt heads, but the way the characters are performed by the actors makes them really endearing. And like Connor is the robot. He's the only one that actually acts like a robot in the game. And so that makes it endearing because you see him go from I am a robot to I have feelings, I guess. So
It definitely makes him more likable because he actually acts like a robot
Yes.
as opposed to someone you are told is a robot.
exactly,
Yeah,
because the other two playable characters, they're already from the get-go, they're just like people, and it's like, okay.
And this is a game full of androids, and they all just might as well just be human. It might as well just be a story about people instead of androids, because they really don't tackle the material very well.
No, it really, it's like they're both trying to be about civil rights while saying that it's not about civil rights, where David Cage literally said it was both about and not about civil rights. And it's like, it's pretty clear he didn't really care about the topic, he just wanted to use the imagery of the topic.
Which is what makes it so, like, hacky. It's like, you get Holocaust imagery, and it's like, why? No.
Spray painting, we have a dream.
Oh,
and
yeah.
LED lights that are easily removed.
Yeah, how can you put that in your game and say it's not about civil rights?
By the way, the Super Best Friends playthrough, if you want to watch a Let's Play of this game instead of buying it, because it's really, it's a beautiful looking game. Like, the art...
Don't buy this game. There's no point in buying the game.
The visual storytelling is very good.
Yeah.
And I have to say this, I was enamored with David Cage for, like, half of his, like, first game. That my brother and I played it. And David Cage has a very good use of tropes. He, like, uses tropes very well. He doesn't tell nuanced or complex stories.
Yeah, but
he might as well be, like, doing, like, soap opera writing, basically.
Yeah, but I question how much it is that David Cage, or is that just the people working at Quantic Dreams? Because whenever I read anything or see anything where David Cage is speaking, I get the impression he doesn't actually know what the hell is even in his own game, like what actually is significant about it. Yeah. He just likes to take credit for it, or if he's writing it, like, that's really all he's doing. And Quantic Dreams is, like, the people around him are trying to gild a turd the best they can, and they do a good job at doing that, but my god, I mean, if he didn't have Quantic Dreams around him, it would be Tommy Wiseau levels of, wow, this is crap.
Mm-hmm. So the game I've played was Indigo Prophecy. I think that's his very first one, and that I played this when I was, like, in my early 20s, but it's like, it starts off, all of his games, like, start off as a detective story and then turn into, like, a weird Jesus parable by the end.
That's a good summary.
He doesn't really write a different story.
So every one of his games is this. You could watch any playthrough of any of his games, it's the same thing.
I wonder if he was inspired by the Matrix series.
It seems like it, because that's
exactly what happens in the Matrix story.
That's exactly what happens in Indigo Prophecy. Is he starts off, he's like running away from the cops, like, I didn't do it, I didn't do the murder, and then he sees the truth, and there's giant bugs in his office place chasing him around, and I'm like, this is like that scene from the Matrix where he's running away from the agents at the beginning, like, and then by the end, he's like kung fu fighting helicopters. Like,
what was that game where someone does a David Cage style game where it's like you basically clip prompts and stuff, but it's more what's the name of that series with the weird dreams and stuff?
Weird dreams.
You know, it's the one where it's like the snapping dwarf guy who's like talking backwards and stuff in a dream.
Dwarf guy?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's God, what was it? What was the name of it? It's that show that is
Twin Peaks.
Yes, Twin Peaks.
You're talking about Deadly Premonition.
Deadly Premonition, which is basically Twin Peaks, the video game, and it takes the same kind of almost style of approach as David Cage games, and it's really wonky, but there's something appreciable about it. Like, its weirdness seems to be better integrated into how you play. Also, you can actually play a game. Like, there's an actual game there where you have control of the character, and, like, you have to get to places in a certain time, and, like, interactions are not just QTE events, like in David Cage games, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of mixed feelings about Deadly Premonition, because that went through a bit of development hell, where a lot of the game elements were, like, just shoved in by the producers of the game, basically, and just like, oh, this is what's popular right now. Let's put this game element in. Let's make it more like this other game.
Yeah, but I feel like that Twin Peaks game does a better job of exploring kind of this weird detective story than David Cage has.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if you want to watch something that's like a little bit of a wonky game and you want to like either play it or do a or watch a let's play, it's more worth your time as a story than David Cage games are, because David Cage games will like start with an interesting premise, but they don't really go anywhere very interesting because he doesn't know how to end the story and he doesn't know how to write people. His sense of dialogue is really, really bad, which is why, like Ashley said, the best parts of the playthroughs that I've watched of Detroit Become Human, the best parts are where the actors ad-libbed, like, and pretty much only Hank and Con are those characters ad-libbed. The other two, so the structure of Detroit Become Human is that there's 3 different stories, like 3 different characters you play. One is a cop, another is like this maid, and the another is a revolutionary who was like owned by a rich guy originally. And the maid and the revolutionary are just not interesting. Mm-mm. They're not interesting at all. They're not particularly good.
Yeah, and
actors, though, to be fair, they're not given anything good to work with. So, but Hank and Connor, those 2 dudes, like, you can believe they were in the same room and riffing off of each other because, like, they actually work well together, as basic as their story is. Mm-hmm. So.
And Marcus, the revolutionary guy, is a bit problematic because, like, he's, you know, different because he was, like, basically trained by an old, rich, bitter human guy.
Rich, bitter, white human guy.
Yes. Yeah. And and this is an android of color, and so it's the implications here are just like this, I don't know, transferring this kind of like...
He has a black manservant who he teaches to have free will and opinions of his own. And he's a rich white guy, and the whole attitude is, oh, look at this, like, see, this guy, he really cared about his robot slave. Yeah. Which means he was a good guy. It's like, no. And it seems like he is that way to kind of shows, like, the game doesn't really want to take a stance in a way. It's like every robot's decision is really controlled by humans anyway, and apparently it's revealed...
one of the endings.
One of the endings, which means this is canon, one of the endings is that it's revealed that the robot company programmed all the robots to have sentience and free will, and then just layered some code that said, oh, but this is like locked off to you unless XYZ, so that they would have a robot revolution. Like, they specifically designed this to happen. They built robots capable of a robot revolution so that the company would have more power or something? Which, I guess, you know, to me seems like a huge liability, because literally every time a robot breaks its programming and gets free will, they kill somebody. Yeah. They murder somebody. And
maybe they would have omitted that from the programming. Like, what are they, like, this company's run by sociopaths, I guess? Like,
I mean, obviously.
I mean, probably anyway, but, like, ones who don't care about how their business, like, if it survives or not.
Yeah. Like, they're like, well, we'll take over the world with this. It's like, why? The robots are also, like, not stronger than people. They can get taken out just as easily as humans. They get shot and they die. It's not like Westworld where they're just, you know, they're programmed to feel like they've died, but in fact they don't need those organs or anything. No, they'll just die. It's just weird. They're basically human beings, except they are robots. And the problem with a lot of these things is that it's like, one of the core reasons why racism is stupid is that, you know, we are all just humans, like this attitude that some humans are more dangerous than others or dumber than others or should be in certain positions, like belong to certain classes, it's just not correct. Like, it's been demonstrated over and over again. But when you try to place this racism allegory and civil rights thing on top of robots that are built to be different, like ostensibly, like they are basically walking, talking toasters and MP3 players, and they murder when they have free will, and they can, like they really are different. You can't really use the same allegory because they are different, and so it's like you have to talk about something else then. Like it's just not going to be one-to-one. And like as much as I like Zootopia, that is a very valid criticism of Zootopia, where you can't say that Zootopia is like a good racism allegory when in fact the animals are different than each other. A tiger can go and kill a rabbit. There is a legitimate concern with like public safety when some of your population has like claws and teeth and stuff. Though to be fair, this also applies to like elephants and stuff, but Zootopia is not exactly the most subtle story.
It applies to humans. I mean,
granted,
everyone can kill everyone.
Everyone could, but I mean that's a matter of choices and decision making, and there's rules against that. As opposed to saying some people
are you saying the animals in Utopia don't have choices and decisions?
No.
I think the point of Zootopia is being a bit missed.
Yeah.
Where the only reason the predators were like going after, other animals was because they were drugged.
Yeah.
And we find out later that, the quote-unquote prey animals are just as susceptible to doing that.
Yeah.
So, like, as far as a racism allegory, Zootopia nails it a lot better than Detroit does.
Yes.
No, that's
I would
for
say
sure.
So.
Yeah. There's at least, like, a real world topics brought up in Zootopia where I think especially its parallelism to sexism and misogyny is really apparent, where you see like how the bunny is undervalued because like she's perceived as being like weaker than other characters, even though she's perfectly capable character. But it's like, oh, you're small, and there's a lot of like rabbits in general kind of being coded feminine, basically, where they're small and they're gentle creatures and they should go off and leave the hard brutal work to like the big animals, basically. And so you see that the police station is mostly operated by large predators and large herbivores, where you have like a water buffalo at the head of the department, for instance.
I want to talk about how Westworld handles these tropes much better.
Yes,
let's do that.
Westworld is like, if you want a good robot story, go watch Westworld. It has a lot more to say.
So, anyone who's been following Westworld, the question there it's like what makes the hosts and what differentiates them from humans. It's never entirely clear from the start as far as like when you see the hosts behaving, they're behaving in very human ways. But you only know from context that these are already pre-coded into them for them to behave a certain way and to like make certain decisions. But the conflict that I love about Westworld and that like blows my mind is just the fact that humans, like, we are quote-unquote coded in certain ways. Like, we have different personalities. We follow different paths based on, since we were born, we've had these different experiences that have kind of coded us into who we are.
We have genetic coding, we have cultural coding.
Right. So it's, it makes the differentiation between human and host a lot more difficult to pin down. And like this, the finale of season 2, I'm still like reeling and trying to like understand what was going on. Because like we've been following, William, the man in black, like through, this whole story, assuming that he's human. Mm-hmm. And then we find out at the end that he's actually a host.
Or we find out at the very, very end that there is a host version of William, and we don't know when that was implemented.
Right. Like, we have no clear evidence of when that occurred. Like, has he been that way since the very beginning? One theory that I was talking to one of our friends with the other night was, like, what if he has been a host for all of the time that we have seen him, and his wife killing herself was not because she saw his file and that he does horrible things in the park, but that by seeing his file, she finds out that he's a host, and that her, like, entire life has basically been a lie, that she married a host and, you know, has had this life with someone that she thought she knew.
Yeah. That struck me as strange that she killed herself as a result of looking at his file, because to me, if she's been gaslit and she finally realizes I was right, my inclination in that situation would be to show people, be like, use that because this is your power against him. Like, you know that now you have evidence that you were right. This will help you. This will keep you from getting institutionalized again. You can convince your daughter of what was going on, that kind of thing. So I find it very strange that upon confirmation of her suspicions being correct, she decides to kill herself. Something is missing there. So
Clint, you look like you had something to say, or you were disagreeing.
No, I was just curious, why was she By the way, I've never seen it. Like, I've seen only a few episodes of Westworld, so I'm missing a lot. But why would she institutionalize? Because that would maybe explain her motivations of committing suicide.
She apparently suffers with, depression and alcoholism.
Well, there you go.
And so she was institutionalized originally because of, her alcoholism, because she's drinking to cope with her depression. In a conversation that she has with William, she's drunk and very upset and everything like this, and she knows that he's not who he says he is. It's just she doesn't really have concrete proof that he's not. She just has this feeling, and she knows that any kind of negative emotion he has, he keeps her and their daughter sheltered from it, but he goes on these annual pilgrimages to Westworld.
I have a sneaking suspicion that in fact she hid the file from him, and she went and confronted him about it, and that he actually killed her, because there was something really weird about how she died in the tub like that. Emily, William and his wife's daughter, was on the phone talking to a psychiatrist, talking about getting her committed, that William and his wife actually had a conversation, and in it she told him she's going to show all these people who he really is, and he retaliated by killing her, in some way. He might have actually smashed her head on the bathtub or something, because she didn't slash her wrists. We clearly saw her wrists were fine. Yeah. And she took her meds, but
we saw blood in the water.
We saw blood in the water, but no slash wrists.
But no slash wrists. And we saw the empty pill bottle. But I agree with you. I feel like he probably did something. Yeah. Pushed her, or they had a scuffle, even if it was unintentional on his part. And and she died, but he refuses to take responsibility for this, considering it would be so easy to make it look like she killed herself, because she's unstable and all of this.
And we know also she didn't drown in the tub either,
because her head's above water.
Her head's above water. There's no slash wrists, but there is blood, and she took medication, but she wasn't acting suicidal. I don't know, there's a lot of things that don't really line up, which makes me very suspicious, and it makes me very happy why at the end of the episode, at the last episode, we get basically confirmation that season 3 is going to happen. Yeah. Because we could still, kind of like in season 1, the show could end right there, and I'd be fine, because it's there's holes to fill in, but that's fine, that's Westworld for you. It's interesting to try to piece together what's actually going on. It has enough visual depth and storytelling just by looking at it.
Yeah.
That you can kind of add more to the story by that. Kind of like in Mad Max, where there's actually way more going on, but you notice it only if you're paying attention. Like, it's not a show where you just listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your analysis based on my very limited knowledge. But I did.
He's been half watching it.
So I did see the scene where she picks up the basically the files on William, and that didn't look like a woman who was just discovering it and was shocked. It looked like she was, just kind of like coming to terms with something.
Yeah.
Was just
I knew it.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And we know what kind of person William is, so that's very, very likely.
Mm-hmm.
You've been sort of watching Westworld as well. What did you pick up on? Like, what was going on in this scene, Ashley?
I actually didn't watch the last episode.
You didn't? Oh no!
I don't get
homework
spoiled.
fail.
I don't get spoiled by things because I like to go. Like, if I know where it ends up, I still like to find out how it happens.
Yeah.
That's a great thing about that show is that
it's like you can say a quote unquote spoiler, but you're still going to be baffled. It's like, well, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I'm the same way with Game of Thrones. I haven't watched Game of Thrones, and people talk about it around me, and then I'm like, oh no, you didn't watch it? Oh, and then I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's like when everybody was like, oh, here comes, the Red Wedding's gonna come, and I see it. I'm like, to me, I'm just like, okay, that sucked, but I mean, the show, like, beheaded one of the main characters right off the bat, and so did the book. You can't really shock me past that point, because they already did it. So to me, I'm just like, whoa, Knife. Oh my god, I never expected such a thing. I'm like, pretty sure the show established it's gonna go there.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, metaphorically, if these, like, super intelligent androids existed, how would we feel about them? Because I feel like a lot of these storylines of, oh no, the robots are going to take over, I feel like that's not the likely path, because already with robots that we see that are just, like, vaguely humanoid or, like, look kind of like a dog, we already have, like, massive sympathy for them. Like those videos of these guys testing out their, like, military robots or whatever, and you see someone, like, kick them, and it's like, no! Don't kick the dog!
Yes. And then I think I read a story where there was, like, a bomb robot, that goes to defuse bombs, and the bomb team actually felt like grief about the robot being destroyed. So
that's its whole purpose.
Yeah, it's its whole purpose. Like, we built it to do that, but we still feel bad that it happened, even though we know this thing does not have feelings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think any of them, or especially not Detroit, is not realistic in the sense that there wouldn't be people who are really sympathetic towards robots, because I mean, I hear people really name their Roombas, and
my friend had her boyfriend disable the chime on her washing machine because when it made a cute little she was like already anthropomorphizing it, and then she felt really awful. She's like, you have to disable that chime, it's driving me nuts. I just think I start thinking of the washing machine as having thoughts and feelings just from that one small thing where it just makes a cute little ding ding noise. And she couldn't handle it.
Oh my god, I saw this really cute little I guess it's kind of like a house monitoring device, but it looks like a little owl. And so it has, like, this really cute face and just a digital face that has, like, blinky eyes, and it makes different expressions and everything. And, so I'm like, if I had one of those, I feel like I would pet it, like, give it a name and, like, be really, really distraught if it got lost or something.
Yeah.
so that's like, I feel like that's my one beef with all of these robot stories, is that in almost all of them, it's talking about like, oh, humans are, you know, mistreating them so badly, and like they gain sentience and free will, and so like they're gonna take over
because they were treated so badly. They'll
Right.
show us, and it's like,
and I feel, and it's not that there wouldn't be people that, you know, would mistreat them and would like knock them around and stuff, because absolutely there would be. It's just like how there are people who abuse animals.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but also just like with animals, there's also people who are like us, who are like, we're gonna build you your own special room and like make sure you have individual boxes in order to sit and roost and hoot at each other, and you know, it's like trying our very best to make sure that they have the best possible life.
Mm-hmm.
And people like get really attached to their cars and stuff,
Yeah.
which are very not anthropomorphic. You know, they're not humanoid in the least, but they're like, oh, it's my baby, I'm going to give it the best oil and make sure that every tire is like rotated perfectly and all the best for my baby. You're going to have turbo and all this stuff. So it's like, if you think that we get robots and we're not going to be like intensely interested in their care,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're missing part of the equation in your estimation of how people do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pointed out that like Hank, the old cop in the story, he's actually a millennial.
Yes.
He's like about our age, I
He
think.
would be our age,
He's our age.
but in
So
the
he's about-
future, which means like, as somebody on Tumblr said, he'd be about 10,000 times hornier for robots.
Yes. And he would be more technology illiterate, because in the game he's like, I don't even know how to program my phone. It's like, no, you grew up with smartphones.
Yes. What is wrong with you? It's like David Cage doesn't understand people.
Yeah.
So it's like he definitely has not talked to anybody our age,
Hank
or
is-
thinking about Hank as anything other than an old man of the now.
Yeah, he's a man removed from the time he's currently in.
Yes. Old soul.
he's like, I'm the only one who owns books anymore, and I'm like, that's how people talk nowadays.
Yeah, he's
Maybe
supposed
Hank
to
was a
be-
hipster.
He was just an extreme hipster who just skipped the last like 40 years of technological development because he's just that cool. He was that fedora kid in high school, and he just stopped developing at that point, and that's why he acts that way and talks that way. Because he's actually trying to be a cool guy, but everybody else in the department's like, dude, what's your shit?
Yeah.
What the shit, man?
What's really baffling is it's like the what is it, the React channel, Fine Brothers,
Yeah.
how they have their like kids react,
Yeah.
and I remember one of the episodes was kids react to like old technology, and so like they brought out a VHS player and like a VHS tape and like a Walkman. And all these things that like we grew up with as kids,
Yeah.
and they're all looking at it like they have no idea what they are.
No. I don't blame them. They're obtuse even then.
And wondering, it's like, how did you guys even like make these? Where's the touch screen? And
To be fair, they were hard to operate. VHSs are VHS players are infamous for like being difficult to program. Like nobody can get the clock
as
to
well
work.
as like eating videotapes.
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
like, and what they don't show is that if you give those kids like another 5 minutes, they figure it out.
Right.
It's not that difficult.
It's not about them being dumb. It's just how quickly technology advances.
Yeah. I think Hank would be wearing a lot more rainbows.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's just so much gay and among millennials. There's no way.
He must have been some kind of like retro hipster guy, because he has like hippie clothing and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was born in the 80s.
Yes. I mean, I was technically born in the 80s, but that doesn't make me an 80s kid.
Well, or he's a 90s kid.
Yeah.
So he should have, if he's,
He should be
doing,
Jake Peralta.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah! He's just who he should be.
Because I already made the connection between Detroit and Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Just take the premise of Detroit Become Human, but instead have the
Make it a cop comedy.
cop comedy Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yes, that's.
Just
I'm like this close to writing
That has
fanfic.
Yeah, actually,
please.
sort of writing a fanfic because it's like, and I'm just like, I want to just say, go ahead and do it, but just don't bother with literally Hank and Connor. Just take the basic premise,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, there's just so many problems. I have a big problem with Detroit Become Human also because it's like, the best characters in the game are the cops that are trying to bring down the robot civil rights movement.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, so the good ending, Hank flips and, he wants to protect the civil rights robots, and also Connor flips, because he starts to feel empathy towards other robots.
Mm-hmm.
But the bad ending is Connor doubles down on being a robot. He's like, no, they're machines. I'm a machine. And then he becomes hostile with Hank, and it's actually pretty tragic. But
That sucks.
I mean, it's clearly they're not on the good side.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
It's
cops
not-
are just never on the good side when it comes to these things. I'm sorry.
Did you hear about the other ending where Connor becomes the de facto leader of the robot rights movement because Marcus died?
Oh yeah,
That's
like
so fucked up.
yeah, and
like, what?
I mean, even Connor seems like he's like, why me? I just showed up, dudes.
Yeah. Well, you're a main character, so
So I guess
we're gonna put you in the throne.
Even though, I mean, it would make more sense if, like, one of Marcus's buddies became the leader.
Yeah.
Or even, like, Kara. It's like David Cage forgot there is another robot character he could use. But no.
Kara's storyline, like, has, really doesn't, like, aside from running into Connor at some point, she doesn't have any effect on the plot. And why is she there then? I mean,
Well, you know why she's there? Because they did a tech demo involving Kara, where they showed her getting disassembled, and she's like questioning her existence, basically. So she's in the game because she's from that tech demo, but you can really tell that it didn't matter.
I think Ashley's asking why is the plot line there, not so much the character. Like,
because David Cage wants a woman to be sexy, and
he actually doesn't sexualize her much, but I mean, he still can't write women.
no, he can't. She wasn't in a shower scene, but he seems to not understand how children operate either. Thankfully, the kid turns out to be a robot anyway.
But that then just negates the whole story.
I know, it's like, wow,
this
hang
human
on.
and robot love
Hang
each other.
on.
Okay.
Hang on. The kid is a robot?
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's so
She goes
funny
through
watching
all this shit,
Yeah.
and the kid is a robot, which makes 90% of her actions completely pointless.
So now I understand why this child robot thinks that holding a toy and shaking it a little is playing.
What a shitty child robot, too. I just feel like current robots now know how to play better than that. Tamagotchis know how to play better than this fake robot child. What?
Maybe that's why he was so mad, because he bought a robot child to be his daughter, and she's just like
She's just
kind of
Yeah.
she's just a pale comparison.
What
So,
a garbage human being her quote unquote dad is, because in Kara's storyline the idea is that the human who bought her and the kid, his wife left him and took their child, and so he was so depressed, and she left him because he couldn't get a job, and he sold his taxi. Which is funny that he has a taxi when it's like 2040, and you'd think self-driving cars were a thing like 15 years ago, because it's a question right now. So it's like, well, no wonder she left you. You decided to be a taxi guy in a world where there's no more taxis.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's
like, I'm the last of a dying breed.
I know, there's a
So
lot
he-
of these anachronistic characters in this game.
So he sells his taxi, but not his house, which is so much more valuable on a plot of land next to a growing development where I'm sure real estate agents are probably knocking on his door every day,
Right.
going, you could sell this for $1 million, right? And he's like, no, leave me in peace with my robot maid and my robot child, which I bought just to beat, and I use all my taxi money to buy this robo maid to beat, and this robo child to beat, and all this blood meth to smoke. And he sits there and smokes blood meth on the couch while talking about how he's gonna beat his child.
Yeah.
This guy is who I want to follow. I want to follow this guy's story because it's so pathetic. It is fascinating. But even better, his robot child and robot maid leave him. He can't even keep a fucking
Can't
machine
even keep a
around.
robot.
Yeah,
Oh.
I feel like you could say there's nowhere to go but up for him, but I really want to see, like, if you can, like, dig a deeper hole for this guy.
I just want to, like, dig him a hole, throw garbage in, and set it on fire.
That
Let's
should
see
be
what
part of your
happens.
fanfic. This
Yeah.
one dude who's just that pathetic, and it's
Yes.
like you don't follow Kara's story or the child's story. You just stick with that guy. I want to see how far down he goes.
Yeah.
Like him ending up at the cap station with Hank, who is Jake Peralta.
Oh my god,
and
no,
Connor.
wait. No, he, like, buys, like, one of those fucking, like, little robot dogs and a Roomba.
Do they run away together?
And he still beats them?
But no, I saw this. He does own a Roomba because you see Alice.
Robot made then.
I don't know, but yeah,
What?
you see the Alice, the robot kid, play with it,
Yeah.
and so we know it exists. So he has that.
So Kara is out of commission for like a week or two, being repaired after he beat the robot maid.
Right.
And the first thing she does when she comes back from being repaired, he picks her up, is she turns on his fucking Roomba that he couldn't just couldn't hit a button.
Sad he is.
Like, that's how pathetic this guy is.
It's like, I get
His
that when you're
place
on.
is a mess because he couldn't hit a button on his
I'm
robot.
gonna just say this is a symptom of blood meth, basically. Is you
Yeah.
just get that lazy. This is like ultra weed crossed with cocaine, where like you become couch-bound lazy,
Yeah.
but also radically violent at the same time. And I'm
Oh my
like,
God,
what is
though.
this drug?
Just like the continuation of his story, his Roomba leaves him. It's like he leaves the door open by accident one day and it just goes.
Here it goes. No. It attacks him. It somehow duct tapes the gun to itself and shoots him that way. It's like, no, this keeps happening. It's so good. Today's sponsor, let's just segue into that, because, you know, what's better for Roombas to clean up besides a big pile of meat? So,
Right.
today's episode is brought to you by It's Meat.
It's meat. Okay.
Just me.
Just
It's Meat is a no BS product that is exactly what it sounds like. It's meat. Guaranteed to contain only grade A through C meat. No fillers or additives, and definitely no soy, getting in the way of your meat experience. Some companies use fancy terms for their meats. Grass-fed ribeye, organic foie gras, fresh. With its meat, we promise just that. 100% meat. That's all.
This worries me.
You shouldn't worry, you're vegan.
Yeah, a bad one, but yes.
Some people want to hug and cry over the cow that made the burger, like Ashley. I'm
Yes.
so sorry. And Clint.
Yeah,
I'm so
a vegetarian. but it sounds like a great product.
But not its meat. Not us. We have no idea where this meat came from. And we don't care. It's just pure American assembled meat. And that's all we need to know. It's meat. Are you man enough?
Yeah.
I have samples of their product here that everyone can try. If our vegetarian and vegan friends here want to give it a sample.
Yeah,
just for the sake of the sponsor,
so I
we
can
need
prove that I'm a man.
You got to prove you're a man, and it's for the sake of the show. We need to earn our money. We got to keep the lights on. So I'm gonna pass out pieces to everyone. Here you go, Ash, Clint.
It's
okay.
It's kind of wet.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's meat. All right, Ashley. Here you go. Here's your meat.
Like it's a little bit waxy.
Waxy.
A little waxy. Let me see what the mouth taste is.
Okay.
The mouth feel.
Okay.
It's meat.
It's meat. Okay. Let's in about a minute. Let me know how you feel.
Okay.
It's they recommend that here on the list.
All right.
Clint, you want to give it a try? Okay.
I don't even know if this tastes better or worse than other meats. I have no frame of reference.
Okay, is it better than tofu?
It definitely tastes like it tastes more pungent.
Well, there's no soy in that, so that's how you know.
Yeah.
Okay, Ashley, would you like to try your sample? It sure is in your mouth right now.
Ashley is like doing like a Connor impression on the meat.
That sure is meat.
Yep. Okay. All right, I probably should have cooked it before I handed it. I don't know why you guys didn't question that, but
in hindsight, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, usually I trust you, so.
I just assume that's just it came, pre-edible or something.
They just gave me meat, Clint. They didn't give me jerky.
It's not one of those like fancy meat companies, I guess.
No. Well, how do you feel, Ash?
I'm feeling okay so far.
Okay. What about you guys? It doesn't sound good. No. Ashley is looking a little green right now. Are you okay? Did you develop a meat allergy or?
Yes.
Yes. That's what you get for being vegan. Eventually, you can't
That's
be
what you-
vegan.
We must have gotten bitten by ticks that made us
The Australian ticks.
Yeah, those ticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the It's Meat Company is working on a vaccine for that, but they've yet to hand it out. So I'm afraid everyone, except for me, because they only have 3 samples, will have to avoid burgers for a while. So, but that's what our healthcare system is for eventually fixing it.
I'm sure we'll get around to it.
It'll be good.
So
let's wind back our way to Westworld. A good story.
Yes.
a good story about meat, about robot meat.
Robot meat, yeah. The robots are basically meat.
What are they made out of? Have they explored that? They are
well,
made out
they're
of
made
meat?
from our sponsor.
No,
the
Westworld
Okay,
androids.
so I actually don't know if in Westworld if they've figured out how to recreate like actual muscle tissue, or if it's all artificial.
I want to say it's artificial because when they're shot, if they have gotten above the programming that tells them ow it hurts, they can still function.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a visual for the sake of the guests, because they even said that they were making them more realistic, or ostensibly why they were making them more realistic was to improve the visceral experience of the guests when they hurt them.
Well, also because it was apparently cheaper to make them more human, where they have like bones and muscle tissue and all of this. It's just
for whatever reason.
It's just we don't actually know what this white stuff is that are used to like craft the hosts.
Yeah, you see it in the show and in the beginning where they show kind of a 3D printer printing out muscle fibers, basically. So I assume it's not exactly plastic. It might be some kind of organic thing, because apparently the same tools used to heal robots can also heal humans, or at least cauterize wounds.
Yeah.
So we're not 100% sure. We know that it's not entirely necessary to their function, like any organs they have are probably not necessary, because they can get shot in the heart and stuff, and the only thing that's really going to take them down is getting hit in the head. And that's probably a fail-safe, so that they don't lose what's known as cortical fluid. This fluid that protects their computer core in their skull from
So I mean,
damage.
they're basically meat bots.
Sort of, yeah. we know that Bernard is a meat bot.
Yeah.
Because he can pass, like, biosensors and stuff.
Like, as far as we know, Dolores was the only, like, original left who still had her, you know, like, all the robot parts that are metal and everything like that.
No, they replaced all that.
No,
They showed in the story that they replaced all that eventually, didn't they?
No, Dolores was the only one who still had, like, all of her original stuff.
I found it interesting that the bull at the end, like, you see that one of the bulls that takes down the remainder of the security team, that it's half finished and it's just a robot inside. It's not even organic past, like, the skin.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is that? That's like that's a bit of a I need an explanation with that, unless it was like a decommissioned bull or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But at least we got like the bull linking up to the beginning, where we see like that bison beginning built, and it's running, and then it's like falling. Yeah. So we see this connection now between that bull, admittedly a bison, and this other bull, it's a domestic bull, like. And it knocks over a dude, and it falls just like the bison.
Such a cool scene, by the way.
It's so good.
What is it about scenes of something falling in slow motion that's so cool? Because the new Spider-Man that animated movie that's coming out.
Oh, super cool one with Miles Morales.
Yeah, that where it has that scene where he jumps off the building and then it's like an upside down sort of view and he's falling in slow motion. I'm like, oh, that looks so cool, and I don't know why, like, slow motion falling is so amazing.
I think it's whenever you're resisting gravity.
Yeah.
It allows for more dynamic motion because you're not forced into balancing any part of your body. For the same reason, like, running is really interesting looking because you only have like this one point of contact with like the ground at any point, and then you're flying through the air, and then you have another point of contact. So, I always like to draw things running. I like drawing things like moving through space like that. You gotta love, for instance, like wolves twisting through space is something all over DVR. It's just like here's my wolf character, and it's just floating in a void, and it's like as much as that's a cliche on the website, it looks damn cool.
Yeah. Well, I think you see that in anime a lot too.
Yeah.
Like gravity and physics defying stuff.
It looks cool.
It does.
It's when the Miyazaki hair goes up. This is really cool.
Yeah, it does look cool. I think it's also just an innate fear that we have of just falling.
Yeah.
I know, like, I'm sure, I don't know if everyone has, but I think most people have had those dreams where you're falling and then you just wake up. Or I had one where I actually woke up, I fell out of bed. Probably because I was afraid of falling in the dream, and then it was like, it happened in real life.
See, in my dreams, I'm often flying. Like, I can fly in my dreams. But if I have any difficulty, it's like, turns out it's really hard to fly because you have to pump your arms. Or another problem with flying is because my realm of experience is about 20 feet off the ground or airplane height, then my dreams about flying are usually 20 feet off the ground or airplane flight height. So I'm either in the stratosphere and having a hard time breathing or telling where I am, or I'm about to crash.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of in-between, so it's kind of like if you're trying to imagine yourself in a dream and you're like supposed to be really small or really big, sometimes my brain goes, but you're not actually that size, you know. Yeah. And then the characters in the dream will be like, yeah, you kept saying you're 20 feet tall, but I mean, you're clearly only like 5'1". And I'm like, no, I'm not. But then it turns out in my dream I'm just actually struggling to hover above the ground, 20 feet above the ground. And when I get reminded, I crash back down. I'm like, fuck!
I'm tall now.
I'm tall. Don't you question this. I'm having fun, damn it. Here's another thing I wanted to bring up. So I'm interested in parallels that I haven't seen discussed before between Westworld and the labyrinth, like the Minotaurs labyrinth, because we have this imagery of bulls at the very end. We have the imagery of the maze. We have people who have made the maze, like trying to leave it, and I'm wondering, like, what kind of parallels can we explore between the story of Daedalus and Icarus and building the Minotaur's maze versus what we see in Westworld?
Those are two different stories.
No, Daedalus was Icarus's dad, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and he built the Minotaur's maze.
He built the maze?
He built the labyrinth, yeah. That's why they were locked in the tower, because the king who commissioned him to build the maze... he was
right.
like,
he
didn't
those
want anybody
stories
to
were
know.
Connected.
Yeah, he didn't want anybody to know how to escape the maze, but also something about Icarus fucking around with his daughters, I believe. So he was like, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to put you in a tower, or I'm going to lock you in the maze, and the tower's like part of the maze. And they needed to escape, so Daedalus built wings out of wax and the feathers of like seagulls that came by, and then they flew away. But then, you know, Icarus flies too close to the sun, the wax melts, he drowns. Daedalus is like, oh, so he gets back home, but you know, he's forever in grief.
Yada yada yada.
Yada yada. You know, tragedies.
Well, I'm actually not very familiar with the story of, you know, the maze.
No?
So
No.
so you know about the Minotaur, the Minotaur?
I mean, I know that it's a thing, but
Okay. So basically, the king had like a son who was like half monster.
Well,
was
what happened was his wife was in love with a prize bull. So much so, she fucked the bull.
Okay.
And had a bull human child.
So it wasn't his son, it was his wife's son.
It was his wife's son, and she cheated on him with an animal. You know, because Greeks,
you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Minotaur was this horrible monster who wasn't just an embarrassment in that, you know, oops, my wife cheated on me with an animal. Wow, jeez. But also he ate people, so you gotta hide him away.
Oops.
So the king's like, I'm gonna make lemons out of lemonade with this, and I'm gonna build a labyrinth so the Minotaur can't get out. But also, I'm gonna just stick my enemies or whoever into this maze.
Yeah, so it was the world's most complicated, obtuse prison.
Yes.
So he'd throw people in this maze, and they'd try to escape, and then there was a man-eating, half man, half bull at the center of the maze that would chase them through the maze and devour them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's basically the story.
And the king also had, I guess, some daughters or something, and I forget if he was either trying to punish the suitor or punish the daughters. But apparently, I think Icarus told someone that if you just get a thread, then you can follow like the maze, and you can like lead your way out. Or one of the daughters gave a suitor or Icarus a thread and said, okay, use this. You'll go through the entrance. You'll get lost, but you can find your way back using the thread and avoid the Minotaur this way. That pissed off the king. I'm sure that it's a little bit different, but in summary, basically, this pissed off the king, showing how to get out of the maze. Besides the fact that he didn't want anybody to know how to get out of the maze. So one of the ways you keep a secret when you have super secret special architecture going on is you kill the architect, and that's something that would actually happen in history. Is like, you know, you build pyramids, you kill your architect. You build whatever, you kill that guy. So it's a secret.
In closing, are you saying that this relates to Westworld and that, like, perhaps the architect of everything, what's his name?
Ford.
Robert Ford, yeah.
Was killed, perhaps, or what?
Yeah, I won't say it's 1-to-1, but I want to explore how these things might be related, because I feel like the imagery of a maze and a bull, and like wanting to leave the maze, and there's like horrors inside the maze where you are consumed or raped or murdered or any number of terrible things. These are all aspects inside the maze that you're supposed to escape out of.
I think that kind of, I mean, you put together the parallel already, is that within the maze of consciousness, you know, the difference being that they're trying to find the center, they're trying to find themselves, and then be able to, like, break free of their coding.
Yeah.
But, you know, but that journey is full of pitfalls and death and all of that.
We even see in the Forge, we see the, whatever the computer's name is, we see in the Forge, the computer says, you know, I put humans in the Forge and I test them over and over again for fidelity and that kind of thing. And most paths lead to insanity, was something that he said. And I find that interesting because in a maze, most paths lead to dead ends. Only one of them leads you out. And in Westworld, leaving the maze is how you reach consciousness. Like, remembering where you've been, hitting dead ends, which in this case would be insanity or pain. But eventually you get out, and it relies on you keeping all those lessons in mind, basically.
Yeah.
So for anybody who is interested in exploring, like, how the metaphor of the Minotaur might relate to Westworld, I highly advise folks to, like, leave comments or send us messages or anything, because I think there might be more to this, and I think it'll be further explored in Season 3 now that we finally will get to see the robots leaving. And so now, will their wings melt in the sun?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, surprisingly, we stayed pretty on topic this time.
We had lots of opinions about robots.
Yeah.
We started.
It's I feel like this is something
could
we could go on several episodes.
Oh, yeah.
With this.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure out what next episode will be.
Yeah. But thank you all for joining and listening. Please like and subscribe, and we hope we'll see you again real soon.
It makes you fall into a doze and someone walks off with your clothes. You feel that engine hum. That train's sure going some. Here comes that choo, 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 choo.